Hello, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Consulting Services. The title of this class is How to Reinstate 501c3 Status After Automatic IRS Revocation. How to reinstate 501c3 status after automatic IRS revocation. A little bit about me before we get into the class. I started Comprehensive Community-Based Solutions Incorporated in 2003. I operated two programs underneath that organizational structure: Panorama Computer Learning Program and the Emerging Leaders Mentorship Program for Black male youth. I offer nonprofit consulting services. I complete the 501c3 application packets for private clients across the United States. I also facilitate a broad range of classes for nonprofit leaders, in-person classes as well as webinars. I have earned 3 nonprofit certifications, one from Duke University, Winthrop University, and Wake Forest University, because I believe it's very important for nonprofit professionals to always remain current with what is going on in the nonprofit sector. I am a 3-time graduate of Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I earned a bachelor's degree in business administration, a Master of Arts degree in business education, and a Master of Business Administration degree. Please adhere to the copyright notice presented here. I give you a few moments to read it. Thank you. Disclaimer: all information presented in this class is from the Internal Revenue Service Revenue Procedures 2014-11. All of the information that I present in this class is from that section of the IRS code. You can visit irs.gov to locate this information. Overview: the IRS automatically revokes 501c3 status if an organization fails to file the appropriate Form 990 annual returns for 3 consecutive years. So if your organization fails to file the appropriate Form 990 annual returns by the due date for 3 consecutive years, you will receive a letter notifying you that your 501c3 status has been revoked and you are no longer able to accept tax-deductible investments in the form of grants, in the form of fundraising proceeds, and in the form of individual donations. The IRS has revoked the 501c3 nonprofit status for 87,279 organizations thus far. Thus far meaning from January 1st through October 31st, 2017. And that information is at www.irs.gov for your verification. 87,279 organizations that had 501c3 status lost 501c3 status because they failed to file the appropriate Form 990 annual return for 3 consecutive years. That's a staggering number, in my opinion. The revocation list is an official IRS record of organizations that lost their exempt status for failing to file for 3 consecutive years. The revocation list is located on the IRS.gov website, and it lists all of the nonprofit organizations that have lost the 501c3 status because they failed to file the appropriate Form 990 annual return by the deadline for 3 consecutive years. An automatically revoked organization whose exempt status is reinstated remains on the list forever with the reinstatement date. What that means is the IRS will automatically revoke your 501c3 status if you fail to file the appropriate Form 990 for 3 consecutive years. Nevertheless, if your organization status is reinstated, that revocation date remains on your record forever. The reinstatement date is there as well, but the revocation date is also there. This is a very important point to remember because some investors will want an explanation as to why your 501c3 status was revoked. Was it due to mismanagement? Was it due to oversight? Was it due to carelessness? They want to know why your 501c3 status was revoked before they make major investments in your organization. So just keep that in mind, that a revocation date remains on your record forever. There are 4 options to reinstate your 501c3 status. If your 501c3 status has already been revoked, there are 4 options that are available to reinstate your 501c3 status. Of course, you have to apply for reinstatement, but there are 4 options that you can use to apply to have your 501c3 status reinstated. Option 1 is called the Streamlined Retroactive Reinstatement Process. Option 2 is called Retroactive Reinstatement Process within 15 months. Option 3 is the Retroactive Reinstatement Process after 15 months. Option 4 is the Postmark Date Process. And we're going to talk about each one of those 4 options. Option 1, Option 2, Option 3, and Option 4. Which option is appropriate for you to use to apply to have your 501c3 status reinstated? To determine which option is appropriate, write down the answers to the following questions on a piece of paper. I will give you a moment to get a piece of paper and a pen, because this is important information that you need to write down, and it will determine which option is appropriate for you to use to apply for 501c3 reinstatement. Number 1, what is the current date? What is today's date? Write that down. Write today's date down on a piece of paper. Number 2, what is your official incorporation date? When was your organization officially incorporated with the Secretary of State office in which you operate? Again, what is the official incorporation date? Which is the date in which your nonprofit organization was officially incorporated in the state in which you provide services. So you should have a letter or a certificate from the Secretary of State's office that has the stamp on it that shows the date in which your articles of incorporation were filed with the Secretary of State's office. That is your official incorporation date. Please write that date down. Next, what is the date on the revocation letter? The revocation letter is a letter that you received from the IRS saying that your nonprofit organization was automatically revoked, or the status of your 501c3 was automatically revoked on a certain date. It will be in the top right corner of that letter. It will also be in the body of the letter. Please write that date down. The date on your revocation letter that shows the date in which your 501c3 status was revoked. What is the date on the IRS revocation list? Go to www.irs.gov. In the search field, you would type in the letters EO and the word select. That will take you to a page in which you can search for automatically revoked nonprofit organizations. When you go there, locate your nonprofit organization and write down the date that's listed for your nonprofit organization, the revocation date that's listed for your nonprofit organization. On that list, write it down, please. Now, if you just received your revocation letter, it may not be listed, the date may not be listed on the IRS revocation list yet, because it takes the IRS about 90 days to update its database to reflect the dates on the IRS revocation list on the website. So if you don't see it there and you have a letter saying that you have been revoked, you have been revoked. And it is illegal to accept donations or any type of revenues before you get reinstated. Some people may think that because I'm not on the list, the revocation list on the IRS.gov website, that I am free to continue accepting money in my nonprofit organization. That is not true. That is fraudulent and illegal. If you have been notified through a letter that your status has been revoked, you have to cease all operations of your nonprofit organization until you are reinstated. Doesn't matter if it's not listed on the IRS website yet. You have the letter. Please keep that in mind. But if it is listed on the IRS revocation list, please write that date down now. Yes or no? Did your organization qualify to file the Form 990N during the 3 consecutive years it did not file? Yes or no? During the 3 consecutive years, now think about the 3 consecutive years that you failed to file. During that time frame, was your organization qualified to file the Form 990N, meaning your organization received $50,000 or less for year 1, year 2, and year 3 of the 3 consecutive years? If the answer is yes, write yes. Write down the word yes. Did your organization qualify to file Form 990EZ during the 3 consecutive years it did not file? Yes or no? If your organization received less than $200,000, year 1, year 2, and year 3 of the 3 years you did not file, 3 consecutive years that you did not file, write yes. So now on a piece of paper, you have answered these questions. And as we continue on through the class, as we continue through the class, you will see how important the answers to these questions are. Okay, now that you have written the answers to the questions, it's time for us to use those answers to determine whether or not your organization can use option 1 to reinstate 501c3 status or to apply to reinstate 501c3 status. Option 1 is the Streamlined Retroactive Reinstatement Process. We're going to learn now whether or not your nonprofit organization meets the criteria required to use the Streamlined Retroactive Reinstatement Process. Option 1 requires the following criteria to apply for reinstatement. Number 1, your organization must be eligible to file the Form 990N, which is also called the e-postcard, or the Form 990EZ for the 3 consecutive years it did not file the annual report. Again, the first criteria is that your organization was eligible to file the Form 990N or the Form 990EZ annual return for the 3 consecutive years not filed. Criteria number 2, your nonprofit status has never been auto-revoked. Your nonprofit status has never been automatically revoked by the IRS. That's the second criteria. Criteria number 3. Now let's read this very slowly and very carefully. If not later than 15 months of the oldest date on the revocation letter or the revocation list. Now, on the paper in which you wrote your answers, you have the date on the revocation letter and you wrote the date on the revocation list. Has it been 15 months from those dates until now that you were revoked? So looking at today's date that you had written down, has it been 15 months from today's date and the date on the revocation letter? Has it been 15 months from today's date and the date on the revocation list? If not, then you have met the criteria. The fourth criteria is you can include a reasonable cause statement. The reasonable cause statement that's required for the Streamlined Retroactive Reinstatement Process is you can attest to the fact that the reason you did not file for 3 consecutive years was not related to any type of malicious intent. It was a simple mistake. Your reasonable cause statement will have to attest to something similar to that. It was not intentional. So if your organization meets these 4 criteria listed here, that you are eligible to apply to reinstate your 501c3 status using the streamlined retroactive reinstatement process, which is the first option, option 1. Okay. Option 2 to reinstate 501c3 status. Option 2 is the retroactive reinstatement process within 15 months. So let's look at the criteria for option 2. Option 2 requires the following criteria to apply for reinstatement. 1. You cannot use the streamlined retroactive reinstatement process. You can't use it. You don't meet the standards. You don't meet all of the 4 criteria we just talked about for the streamline. You can't meet all of them. So you cannot, that's one of the criteria. You cannot apply for it based on that. Criteria number 2, your nonprofit status has never been revoked in the past. 3, same thing as before, if not later than 15 months of the oldest date on a revocation letter or revocation list. Already explained what that means. 4th criteria, you can include a reasonable cause statement for not filing for at least one of the 3 consecutive years in which you did not file. That reasonable cause statement under this option is a little more extensive than the one for streamlined. Just bear that in mind. And the 5th criteria is you can include a confirmation statement that required annual returns, which are your Form 990s, for the 3 consecutive years and for any other missed years were sent to the appropriate IRS address provided in paper formats up to the postmark date of the reinstatement application. That is a big statement here, because using option 2, you have to have evidence, provide a confirmation statement that you have completed all of the annual returns for the 3 consecutive years you didn't file and any other missed years. So let's say that you missed 3 consecutive years, but you also missed 4 years after that. So that means you have to send in paper format, 7 years of annual returns. And the IRS provides a certain address that you have to send it to. So it's saying up to the postmark date of this reinstatement application. So if you are submitting your application in November of 2017, and the postmark date will have a November 2017 stamp on it, that means that your 2016 annual return must be a part of all of the returns that you send in that were missing. Very, very important. Those 5 criteria must be met in order to use option 2, which is the retroactive reinstatement process within 15 months. Option 3 to reinstate 501c3 status is the retroactive reinstatement process after 15 months. So it's slightly different from option 2. It's the retroactive reinstatement process after 15 months. Option 3 requires the following criteria to apply for reinstatement. Cannot use a streamlined retroactive reinstatement process. We know that. Nonprofit status has never been auto-revoked in the past. Okay, got that. If after 15 months of the oldest date on the revocation letter or revocation list. Now that's different from option 2. So going back to the dates again that you've written down, is today's date 15 months later than the oldest date between the revocation letter and the revocation list? So look at the revocation letter. What's the date? Is today's date after 15 months of that date? Look at the revocation list. What's the date? Is today's date 15 months after that date? Then if so, you have met the criteria. You don't have to meet the criteria for both the revocation letter or the revocation list. It's either or. The oldest date of the revocation list or the revocation letter. Compare it to the current date. If either one of those dates, the latter date of either one of those, is after 15 months of the current date, then you meet the qualification of the criteria. You can include a reasonable cause statement for not filing for all 3 consecutive years in which you did not file. Option 2 required a reasonable cause statement for just one of the 3. Option 3 requires a reasonable cause statement for all 3 years that you did not file. You have to provide a reason why you did not file for the year 1, year 2, or year 3 of the 3 consecutive years in order to use option 3. You have to be able to do that. You can include a confirmation statement that require annual returns for the 3 consecutive years and for any other missed years were sent to the appropriate IRS address provided in paper format up to the postmark date of the reinstatement application. I've already explained what that means. It's the same requirement in option 2. So looking at the option 3 requirements or criteria, if you meet these criteria, then you can use option 3 to apply for reinstatement of your nonprofit status. Option 4, to reinstate 501c3 status. Option 4 of 4, there are 4 options, option 4 of 4. Postmark date reinstatement process. Very simple, the most simple process of the 4. That means if your organization is not seeking retroactive reinstatement of your 501c3 status, then you may apply to use the postmark date of your reinstatement application as the effective date of your new 501c3 status. If it doesn't matter that the date goes back to the date that you were revoked, if you don't care about going retroactive back to that date, and you just say, look, I just want to submit my application again to get reinstated from the date of this application, not way back when I was revoked, but from the date of the application, I'm fine with that. Then you use option 4. And that's it. With option 4, all you have to do is complete the form 1023, application for recognition of exemption. Right across the top of the first page that you are applying for reinstatement, not retroactive reinstatement, but reinstatement because you've been revoked. That's it. This is the most simple one that you can use. All of the other ones, there's option 1, option 2, and option 3, were for people who want to go back to their revocation date. They want to go retroactive back to 2006 or whatever the date was. That's why they're going through so many steps, to get that retroactive date back. They want their new reinstated status to reflect the original date in which they were given the 501c3 status originally. But if you don't care about that, then use option 4, which is the postmark date reinstatement process. I really hope that I've done a good job in explaining the 4 options to apply to have your 501c3 status reinstated after it was automatically revoked by the IRS for failing to file for 3 consecutive years. Okay, let's say that you want your 501c3 status reinstated, but you don't want to complete the applications to have that done. I would be honored to complete your reinstatement applications for you. And I'm going to share with you now my consultant fees for each option that will be assessed in order for me to complete your reinstatement applications. Remember, option 1 is the Streamlined Retroactive Reinstatement Process. Option 2 is the Retroactive Reinstatement Process within 15 months. Option 3 is the Retroactive Reinstatement Process after 15 months. Number 4 is the Postmark Date Process. In order for me to complete the first option for you, it's a $1,000 fee. And that includes all of the documentation that's required in the application packet. Now, bear in mind that each one of these options requires a brand new Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption, in addition to any other requirements that I've already discussed. So just keep that in mind. That's a whole packet in and of itself that has to be completed. Option 2 is $1,500 because, like I said, it requires a Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption and all other documents, plus the annual returns that you didn't submit, not just the 3 consecutive years, but remember, any other year that was missed, those annual returns have to also be included and created and included. So that's a significant amount of research and a significant amount of work, creation of documents. Option 3, same exact thing, $1,500 because of the amount of research and time and work that's required. Option 4 is $1,000 because it's just the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption, and that's my standard fee to complete that application anyway. Now, there is a caveat. That's why we have the asterisks. If you have all of the annual reports that are required in option 2 and option 3, I mean readily available, already in paper format, all we have to do is make copies for the IRS. If you have that available, then the fee is only $1,000 for me to complete everything else for option 2 and option 3. So again, if you want to hire me, I will be honored to have your business. So why should you hire me to complete your reinstatement application? Well, I have experience completing applications for years. I started in 2010 completing the Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption for organizations across the United States of America. So far, I have helped over 45 clients earn their 501c3 designation from the IRS. My approval rating is 100% from the IRS. And I believe it is because I schedule free 1-hour consultations before I take on any client. Because I want to listen to you over the phone, explain to me what your vision is for a 501c3. And that allows me the opportunity to determine whether or not your vision meets the IRS qualifications. And I would do the same thing for people who will hire me to complete the reinstatement applications. I would want to talk with you and learn all about what happened. How did you lose the status? What were the circumstances around that? I want to learn more about the situation before we move forward in a business relationship. And it also gives you an opportunity to talk to me before we move forward in a business relationship to determine whether or not you believe in my credibility, whether or not you think we can work together as business partners. If we decide to move forward, I do provide a contractual agreement. That agreement outlines all of the tasks that I complete on your behalf. And if you agree with that contractual agreement, I do ask you to sign. After you sign it, then I provide you with an application completion timeline to show you when you can expect to receive different documents from me and when I will expect to receive your feedback on those documents. I request a 15 business day turnaround time for my work. I partner with clients to complete their documents. We go back and forth until the documents reflect exactly what you want it to reflect or want them to reflect. I follow up with questions from the IRS on your behalf. If the IRS has any question, or your representative or exemption specialist that's processing your application, if they should have any questions about your application, if you give me permission, I will talk to them on your behalf and you won't have to worry about that. As a bonus for people who I work with from the beginning, I complete the Secretary of State applications for you. So if you are starting a 501c3 nonprofit organization and you have not filed with the Secretary of State's office, I will complete those applications on your behalf. And for that service, the fee is $1,000, and that's for the standard Form 1023 application. I've already shown you the fees for the reinstatement process. But I just wanted you to see that I do bring to the table a high level of credibility. If you remember, in the beginning of this class, I outlined my background, and I have been through the fire of starting my own 501c3 myself. I've operated it for 10 years, managed it, funded it, and it was successful. The two programs were very successful. So I have that experience. I've taught classes, a broad range of classes, in grant writing and how to start a nonprofit, how to sustain, how to do the board members, how to handle the management and organization of a nonprofit organization. So I bring to the table the credentials to do a very good job for you if you don't want to complete the reinstatement application package yourself. If you would like to talk more about this, please feel free to call me at 704-968-2769 to schedule a free 1-hour phone consultation. You can also schedule a consultation on my website at hiresusanwoods.com. These consultations are free. You can go to my website and you will see a place where you can schedule a free consultation with me to talk about your reinstatement desires to have your 501c3 status reinstated. Now, if you say, well, look, I'm not in a financial position right now to do this, to take on this debt, I would just like to learn more about the steps that I can use myself to complete this process. Well, after this page that you're looking at now is a continuation of the class. This class goes into a lot more detail about each option. It walks you through exactly what you need to do, step by step, in order to apply for reinstatement of your 501c3 status yourself, without hiring me or without hiring anybody. If you want to see the remainder of this particular class, I ask you to order the DVD, How to Reinstate 501c3 Status. The DVD is $20. It's also available on my website. Once you purchase the DVD, then you will be able to use the DVD in the privacy of your home, around your schedule, at your own pace, to complete your own reinstatement application. Again, the DVD is How to Reinstate 501c3 Status, and it's only $20. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. I really hope that you can tell I'm passionate about the information that I share, and I wish you the very, very best in getting your 501c3 status reinstated. If I can help in any way, please don't hesitate to call. Thank you so much and have a good day.